Radio Free Santa Clarita presents the Talk of Santa Clarita, a podcast about issues involving Santa Clarita and the surrounding valley. With your host, Stephen Daniels. Episode 158. Candidates for the Santa Clarita Valley Water Board, known as the Water Six: Kathye Armitage, Beth Braunstein, Valerie Bradford, Stacy Fortner, Anna Kumar, Christine Okamoto. And now, let's see what the Talk of Santa Clarita is.
And remember, this is for posterity, so be honest.
Hey guys, thanks for coming to the Talk of Santa Clarita. Welcome to the Talk of Santa Clarita Inner Sanctum. This is my inner sanctum for putting these podcasts together. So welcome all of you. You are the Water Six. Who came up with that name? First off, nobody's going to comment on that.
Nadi did. Didn't he?
Yeah, it was
Nadi.
a combination between me and Nadi, because I noticed that we can flip it if we have, if all six of us win, we will dominate the water board.
Yeah.
And then we were looking for something, and Nadi came up with the Water Six.
I was thinking that might make a good title for like a TV pilot, the Water Six, or maybe Aqua Women 6.
Ocean's 8.
Aqua Women 6. I don't know. Let's go around the room. Introduce yourself. Tell us what you're running for specifically. Let's start with Beth.
I'm Beth Braunstein, and I'm running for Division 1.
Division 1. Anna?
I am Anna Kumar and running for Division 2.
Christine?
I'm Christine Okamoto, and I'm running for Division 1 with Beth Braunstein.
Okay, and Stacy?
Stacy Fortner, and I am running for Division 3 with Kathye Armitage.
Valerie?
I am Valerie Bradford, and I'm running for Division 1 with Anna Kumar.
And Kathye?
And I am Kathye Armitage, and I'm running in Division 3. And can I just add a little something, Stephen? I just want to say thank you for giving attention to this race. I think it's really important that people understand that who they choose to represent them on their local water agency board really matters, because the decisions that are made by this board affect our water quality, how much we pay for our water, and how our environment is impacted. So I really hope that everybody watches this, takes the time to research their options, including us, and actually cast their votes in this race. So thank you.
Well, that goes with my first 10 questions. Now what the hell are we going to talk about? No, you make a good point. I mean, a lot of people don't realize, the joke that a lot of people have said before, I've heard, is that, he or she who controls the water in Santa Clarita controls Santa Clarita. Do you guys feel that's the case? Is that why are each of you running? And I guess, who wants to speak up first on that? What is the motivation? Anna?
I'm happy to start with that. I don't know that I feel it's a control thing. I think that first, yes, thank you. But first, I think that we are lucky in Santa Clarita that this is an elected position, because in many areas it is an appointed position. So people don't necessarily get the say of who they want to see filling these seats. So in Santa Clarita, the voters get to say, the citizens of our city get to say who they want representing them for this board. So I think that that's a wonderful thing that our city offers. And I wanted to run to bring a fresh new perspective to this board. This board has been sitting for a minimum, the board members on this board have been sitting a minimum of 17 years, minimum. So maybe it's time for something new in Santa Clarita.
What is your, why water board specifically? It's not sexy. It's not like, you can go, hey.
Very sexy.
You think it's very sexy? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well then explain to me why it's sexy. Put you on the spot. No,
it's the one thing that affects all of us. Okay, maybe you don't have kids in the school system, so school board isn't really like a big hot button issue for you, right? But and maybe you live a little bit outside of city limits, so city council that doesn't actually touch exactly where you are.
Right.
But water affects everybody. It
Yeah.
affects all of us. And if there's contamination in our water, if we don't have enough water, that is the most essential thing to life of anything. And I agree with what Anna said. It's not a control thing for me. It's about life. It's about the environment. It's about the fact that people need to be more connected with nature and with their environment to live a really fulfilling and safe and healthy life. And water is a huge part of that. And that's why I'm running for water.
Okay. Well, I mean, not to slam the water board or anything like that. I'm saying, like, well, you gave good reasons for like the school board or the city council, and but they are more prominently known. So I guess, yes, Valerie, what would you like to say?
So I think the reason that I'm running is because my personality is one of behind the scenes. And so the water board, I have administrative and detailed, a detailed background, and that's where I tend to shine. So the water board is perfect for me because it allows me to do this necessary work behind the scenes and still represent the residents of our community. So it definitely fit with my personality.
Okay. Stacy, do you want to say something, Kathie? Go ahead, please.
Okay, Stacy, go first.
Okay. Well, Stacy.
Oh, that's fine.
I was going to move to just a little bit about the history of the water board itself and what's been happening. A lot of people don't know about the mergers that have been taking place with the water board and how it's kind of, well, it's sort of Chinatownish, I guess, in a certain sense, but I mean, Stacy, you want to talk a little bit about that, about what's been going on with the water board and its history?
Oh gosh, where to start? I guess, each individual operating retail company was started at a different time by different people.
How many were there? How many were there?
4.
There were 4.
Well, 3. There were 3, and then CLWA as the wholesaler. So there were 3 retail agencies of Santa Clarita Water District, Newhall County Water District, and Valencia Water.
And CL is Castaic Lake Water Agency,
and then CLWA was the wholesaler. So
Okay.
you had the 3 retailers and the 1 wholesaler. So the wholesaler was the one that brought in the imported water from the State Water Project and then sold that water to the retail agencies.
Mm-hmm.
Over the years, first CLWA acquired Santa Clarita Water District.
Mm-hmm.
They were sued. They changed the law and got their hands slapped and said, the legislature said, don't ever do that again. Well, they did it again, and they bought Santa Clarita Water Company. And when they did that, it created it created problems for them because you had a private company that was now owned by a public agency. And so they couldn't be regulated by the CPUC. There was some, they were sued by Newhall County Water District because the wholesaler couldn't own the retailer and the public couldn't own the private. And it just created
what happened with the Newhall?
A whole mess.
The Newhall.
So when Newhall sued CLWA for the acquisition of the Santa Clarita, or for Valencia Water, they decided that they needed to do something drastic, and so they drafted SB 634. And part of the settlement of the lawsuit was that Newhall County Water District would become part of the big super agency, and they started touting the One Valley, One Water, and economies of scale, and this is going to be perfect. And
it is essentially a monopoly now. I mean,
it's a monopoly.
It is a monopoly of the water in this valley. Okay, so why is that a bad thing? Who would like to? Does anybody want to comment on? Is that good or bad? That is bad. Why?
It's bad. Well, because they can do anything they want with our water rates. For instance, I just got I did a public records request and got the response back today. And they're raising our rates. Our rates are going up, and they're raising our rates because part of this merger, each company had its own indebtedness, and so the ratepayers are now paying off the debt of these agencies, and then once all the debt's paid off, then they can consolidate further. And but the ratepayers are paying that, and I can read you the text directly from the document where it says. Valencia Water Company or any other retail water supplier is integrated into the agency. The indebtedness of the retail water supplier that exists immediately before integration shall be borne by the customers in the area that corresponds with the boundaries. So that means that we're paying it. The ratepayers are paying off the debt of these agencies.
Well, then why are they consolidating in the first place? I mean, what was the reasoning behind that? Does anybody know why? Stacy, you were that kid in school that always knew all the answers, right? And,
well, I'm not. I mean, I'll let someone else expound on why they think why, because I have my own ideas. But well,
does anybody else care to comment?
I know why.
No, Stacy, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, as I wrote in my op-ed that was published in the SAC-B in July of 2017. There were parts of the valley that didn't have a serving water agency, and because they didn't have a serving water agency, they couldn't develop that part of the valley. And so SB 634 kind of in one fell swoop took care of the problem that they had with Newhall County lawsuit, and also creating this new boundary of this new super agency that incorporated this area of the valley that they couldn't serve water to. And it wasn't that they didn't have the water. They had the water, but they had no way of transporting that water up and over the hill and then into the part of the valley that they needed to serve because they didn't have water rights. So when they annexed that part of the valley, it gave them the ability to move that water up and over the hill through this new super agency, Santa Clarita Valley Water, and then green-lighted Newhall Ranch.
So you're saying that basically this was all done to allow the development of the Newhall Ranch project? I mean,
yeah,
do you have
I don't think it was ever about neatening of the boundaries and settling lawsuits. I think it was all about Newhall Ranch under the guise of economies of scale, one valley, one water, and then now they can do whatever they want because they're a self-governing board without any kind of oversight.
Okay, who is running against BJ Atkins? Is any guys running? You're running against BJ? Kathy's running against BJ. Okay. It's interesting that you are, because BJ was on the show many years ago, and actually we talked about the merging. And he didn't seem to have a problem with it at all. Not a big surprise. But one of the things he actually said that the rates would go down as a result of this, because it's supposed to be more efficient. Less paper, less red tape as far as getting things done. Kathye, you raised your hand. Comment on that?
Well, and I'm just going to say that I think that most people in this valley don't know the story of what Stacy just explained related to the merger. And ultimately, they just care about their rates and whether or not they go up. And I mean, this is something that I'm making phone calls to voters. And the number 2 concern that people are sharing with me are the rates. They don't want to see their rates go up, but they're voicing that very loudly. So I was surprised last year at one of the board meetings when a ratepayer advocate came in and did the presentation to the board. And I was curious and I was like, oh, who is this ratepayer advocate? Thinking this is somebody who's an actual ratepayer that was part of this process. And it doesn't seem to me that they actually have actual SCV Water customers that are part of the initial process of reevaluating the rates. And so I know something that I think customers would very much appreciate is if we actually had actual ratepayers that are part of this process early on. And I know the board was just recently at a meeting speaking about that they were going to go into another reassessment. And so this is something that I'm hoping the board will actually do and incorporate into the scope of work of the ratepayer advocate, so that there is someone who's actually paying these actual bills who can voice their opinion about this.
Well, that's the law. That's the law. That position was created in SB 634 and signed into law by the governor. So they have to have a ratepayer advocate, but the ratepayer advocate is on the payroll of the agency, which is wrong. That's not what the public would expect.
And you thought water wasn't sexy. I mean, there's a reason why nobody knows anything about this. I mean, there's a reason why they've managed to make this position so under the radar that none of us, most people, don't know anything about this.
When I made the remark about he or she who controls the water controls the valley, I wasn't saying you guys were doing it to have control, but in a certain sense, like there cannot be development without the approval of the water agency. Am I wrong on that? That is correct.
That is correct.
Correct. And the Newhall Ranch.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
By the way,
you agree with that they should have to have approval?
No, I agree with your statement.
Yeah.
That none of us are in it to control anything.
No, I didn't. Wasn't implying that. I was just saying that what I'm trying to make is water sexy at this point by basically pointing out how powerful the water board is. One of the things I noticed when reading over your little bios that you sent me, and of course Kathye wrote an essay. No surprise. For some reason I was expecting 10 pages or something, but I noticed that there's an environmental hook with all of you in the sense. Are you against development? Are you against the Newhall Ranch development itself?
Well, I think climate change is one of the biggest threats right now. Mm-hmm. We all need to address it. We can't ignore climate change.
Well, how do you, what do you have in mind as far as handling climate change with being on the water board? Not to say that you can't do something, but in my mind, it's like, well, if you're going to do something about climate change, you need to get back in with the Paris Accords, not necessarily the water board. How can you make a difference by being on the water board to help with climate change?
Well, it's acknowledging, first of all, the reality that it exists and that it's a threat. Mm-hmm. And then, there's a part of educating the public and doing a lot more of outreach to the public. I personally would love to develop this specifically for kids, young kids, to teach them about conservation. Mm-hmm. I mean, I grew up in Israel and they instilled in us all these things time after time about you wash your hands, you don't leave the tap, mm-hmm. you turn off the water, all these things, because when the kids are taught and they're changed, then that's the future.
Right.
So there's parts of that, and there's parts of hey, our groundwater is kind of here, and that's something we can control to a degree.
Valerie, you look like you were going to comment on something.
I agree with Beth, and I think when I think about what kind of influence I can have is when we look at new development coming in, that they need to be held more accountable to taking into consideration the recharge of our groundwater. So, as they pave over with houses and pavement and parking lots and what have you, it is taking away the green infrastructure that we need to recharge our groundwater. So I'm hoping that my presence on the water board will have an influence when it comes to that we will be able to maybe hold them accountable as they build these new housing projects, that they are held accountable for making sure that we have a certain percentage of green infrastructure with each new development.
Well, the Newhall development, I'll get to you in just a second, Kathye, but you're against, are you against that development itself?
I wasn't around when Kathye and Stacy and them have worked for years trying to have their influence on that project. But just from the standpoint of being a ratepayer, the thought of 21,000 new homes mm-hmm. And how it will affect our supply of water. Right now, our groundwater wells, 40% of them are closed because they're contaminated. So no, I'm not a fan of that project. And the project seems to repeatedly have issues, one bankruptcy after another, and this issue and that issue. So no, I'm probably not a fan of that. Not probably, but no, I'm not a fan of that project. I think that, again, we need to look at where we're building and make sure that we're not taking away so much of our green infrastructure.
But that project in particular, and Kathye, I'm sorry, I'll come to you in just a second here. But it's known for, I mean, one of the things they had to do to allow the building of it was have a substantial amount of green infrastructure in it. Is it not enough by what they've done? Or or do you just want to stop development completely in this valley? Because, to me, it seems inevitable that that area is going to get developed at some point. And whether it be 5 years from now or 50 years from now, it's going to get developed.
And you're probably right. I mean, we have a tendency to build over whatever available land that there is. Do I think it's not enough? I can't answer that. I don't have an educated answer to that because I don't know what percentage of green infrastructure they have allotted for. No, I'm not against all new housing development in Santa Clarita Valley. I know that we need new housing development. I just think we need smarter development, and I think that we need to look at it more closely and weigh, whether or not we have enough green infrastructure as opposed to all the housing development.
Okay. Kathye, you were going to comment. I'm sorry, I held up on that. So go ahead.
Well, I was just going to address the question too, is how does somebody who's on the water board, or how does this role of being on the water board impact, or what's the connection to climate change? And I just want to say that, part of what we can do, well, first of all, we have to acknowledge that climate change is a real threat and it's at our doorstep now, right? Yeah. And be sure that we're taking every opportunity now to mitigate the issues that we know are coming down the pipeline. We know our area is only going to get drier than it is right now if we are listening to the scientific community. So, part of what we can do, part of the strategy is decreasing our reliance from the water that we do get from up north, right? And building our resiliency here at the local level. And the way we do this is we carefully monitor and protect our groundwater, right? We carefully assess how much more water we can divert from our water treatment systems into our recycled purple piping systems for irrigation. We support our local stormwater capture projects. There are going to be 2 of them happening here in our community. And as Valerie mentioned, we support smart growth strategies that allow for greater efficiency of use of all of our natural resources, including water. And Valerie mentioned some of them, but we don't build near high groundwater recharge areas. We use permeable surfaces when we pave areas. We use more water-wise landscaping, and we change the way we build homes so that we can use things like gray water systems to water our yards. So those are some strategies that we can do today to start addressing this issue locally.
Yes,
and
Anna, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Anna. I was just going to expand on that a little bit. We are all sitting for the water board, right? We're all running for a water board seat, but this huge development will impact not just the water. So you asked, how does it impact climate change? The additional, I believe that they're slated to add 200,000 residents, I believe, from the numbers.
The project's huge. That much I do know.
So that's additional cars, which is pollution to our air, which is, more demand on the planet, on our little part of the planet. Yeah. They're also building right on the Santa Clara River, right alongside. Yeah. What is that going to do to the natural ecosystem there? How does it impact it? It all does have an effect on how the climate is changing. And scientists have said we are so far beyond where they projected even 10 years ago we would be. So we really need to, as everyone here has already said, we need to acknowledge it so that we can move beyond it and then come up with solutions. So part of the solution is, as my friends that have become friends here have already said, responsible building and really taking a look at where we're building and how we're building.
Well, raise your hand on this one. Is everybody here opposed to new development, or?
No, I don't think anyone is opposed to new development. Okay. I think what every single one of us could agree on, and I'm not speaking for any of you, so if I'm wrong, just slap me. But I think that there needs to be smart development. I think building in high fire areas where you can't even buy a homeowner's policy is ridiculous. I think that Spring Canyon is not a good it's not a good project. First of all, you're working with a bankrupt developer who's several bankruptcies, not just one. And so I think that project specifically needs to be looked at. There's another one going, there's one up Bouquet, another 300 homes up Bouquet that needs to be looked at. These are areas that that not just from an insurance perspective, but just from an environmental perspective, you have one way in, one way out. there's a multitude of reasons why those are not smart developments. But we do have good developments. I mean, Vista, what is it? Vista Canyon, Vista Ridge, Vista, where they
I don't know.
built
I
it,
never venture
moved the
outside
train
my house.
station. Yeah, but they're using reclamation, water reclamation in all of their projects up there. It's built near the train station. It's if I had to pick a project that I didn't mind, those would be the types of projects that I could get behind. But making a blanket statement saying we're anti-development is just wrong. But there seems to be that misnomer out there that, for some reason we're anti-development. And I just think that's not the case.
Growth is a natural thing.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. Like we just need to not be stupid about it. That's all.
Anna, you want to
I
say
was
something?
going to say, I haven't been able to get out the way you would in a normal election year to go meet people.
Sure.
But my kids and I take walks, and we've been putting door hangers on people's doors very responsibly with masks and staying distant, not, pounding on people's doors. But every once in a while you'll see someone who's out and they'll say, why the water board, which we've already kind of discussed. But the thing that's coming up, and it seems to be across all barriers, is barriers is the wrong word, but the partisan issues is people are really concerned about developing this area and what's going to happen. And that's with, all sorts of whatever signs or they have in their yard. It doesn't seem to matter. That seems to be a concern. How big is this valley going to become? And how are we going to encompass all these people? It seems to be on everyone's mind, even more than I've heard about, well, what are you going to do about our rates? It's been what's going to happen with development.
What is the water? I'm sorry, go ahead, Valerie.
I was just going to add on to what Stacy said, because the Bouquet Canyon project is right around the corner from my house. And when we first moved here, we had insurance with, I forget who it was, but they canceled us because we were close to the hills. And maybe about 5 years later, and I've lived in Santa Clarita Valley for 15 years, maybe about 5 years later, we were packing up our car because the fire, right where they're getting ready to build, because there was a fire that had encompassed that area. And we were packing up our cars on an emergency evacuation. And so I totally agree with Stacy. Smart development. I went also doing lit drops the other day up on Sky Ranch or whatever it is up there off of Plum Canyon. They have built right up to the mountains. I mean, that area, all those homes up there are right up against the mountains. And so, smart housing development is definitely key.
Yes, Kathy.
I want to say before you move on to a different topic, I think that, at least for me, and I believe for the other ladies as well, I think we're coming to the table with the mindset of balanced decision-making, right? So if you look at the academic definition of sustainability, it says you need to give equal consideration to three things: our social values, which I always explain as basically our health and well-being, right? Our environmental values and our economic values. So, just because we are kind of the progressive group, I wouldn't say that we are anti-development or anti-business. No, that's something that we need to also give equal consideration to. That's very important, right? Business is very important in our community, but so is the environment, and so is our public health. So I think that's one thing that we all come to the table with is, let's make sure we're not giving too much weight on just one, but we're giving equal consideration to all three.
Okay.
Right. And Stephen, you had asked a question earlier, and I was going to respond to it. You were saying something, and I'm paraphrasing, that the water agency has some say in the projects.
Yes.
And it isn't that the water agency itself says, yes, this project can move forward. It's not a rubber stamp.
Okay.
But what the agency is responsible for is reporting our water supply accurately, so that we can say, if you build this many houses, yes, we have the supply to meet the demand. Currently, we are reporting our water supply that includes the contaminated water.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So we have next year, we're going to have our, there's a document that will need to be recreated next year. It's the Urban Water Management Plan. And so in that plan is where we report our water supply, where we get our water from, where our water goes to, how many subscribers we have, those types of things. And so it's really important that we accurately report our supply so that we're not overextending our resources, because I think Beth said this, all the water that's ever been is here now, or all the water that's here now is all the water that's ever been. And so we don't make more water, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's all part of the water cycle. And so it's really important that we get that right, because if we do it wrong, we could set ourselves up for huge failures in the future and for future generations, and you can't get it back.
Well, on that note, then I think it was Kathye, or maybe I don't know whoever. Someone said that the current board has been on that board for what, 17 years or
decades. Decades.
What are they doing right, and what are they doing wrong? And I want to hear from everybody. Christine, I'm going to put you on a spot because you've been very quiet.
Well, I just wanted to say, just kind of piggyback on what people were saying just now. As early as 2000, or as recently as 2014, and maybe even more recently, Stacy and Kathye, if you can correct me on this, but I know that in 2014, the water table got so low that we had trees dying because the roots couldn't reach,
Still dying.
And then, sorry?
They're still dying.
Yes.
Today.
Okay, so they're still dying. And then, so then additional wells need to be closed because they can't reach. And then you're going to have to dig deeper to try to get to the water. So if that was already happening in 2014 and 2005, I think it was also really bad, with the population that we have, or that we had at the time. So what's going to happen, right, when we add another 200,000 people to the mix, right? Isn't it going to be so much easier for a drought season to just wipe us out? I mean, when was the last time it rained? Can you remember? I can't.
I don't even believe in rain anymore. I think it's a myth.
It just doesn't. So right, and then like Stacy and Beth have said, all the water that ever existed, is here now, and so we have to really manage that, and that's what I think that the water board isn't doing right now. I don't think that they are paying attention to these things as dire as the situation is. 50% of our water currently comes from the Sierra snowcaps. Well, those are melting. Hello.
Yeah.
So, and then all these projects are getting approved. So, like we said, we're not against development, but we want to develop smarter, and we want to really look at each thing and ask ourselves, do we have enough water? Is it sustainable, right? There are all these loopholes too. Like you'll notice that most condo developments have less than 500 units. Well, why is that? Because 500 units is the threshold for really stringent, you have to pass all these tests, or, you have all these requirements, right? So I think the water board, is responsible for looking at things like that and taking that into consideration. Even if it's under 500 units, that's still significant when we're talking about a valley that's fairly dry.
Kathye, what are they doing right? What are they doing wrong?
Well, so I've been attending the water board meetings for over a year pretty consistently. And it's been really interesting to me to continue learning about the issues that are specific to our area for our water. And I have appreciated the presentations that highlight the really important work that the water agency staff has been doing. But I will say I've been disappointed with some of the comments that someone who's supposed to be representing me on the water board has made. And I didn't get to answer the question earlier of why I'm running. That's why I'm running. And so, I heard a representative question the science related to the public health concerns of the PFAS exposure that was discovered last summer. And then I heard him question the validity of concerns around climate change in general as well. And
do you want to name who that person is? Do you want to name him?
Sure, BJ Atkins.
BJ,
so
I don't want to cut you off, but I'm a believer in climate change too, but BJ does hold an environmental degree, yada, yada, yada. I mean, most people would assume he would know what he's talking about. I mean, but you disagree with him, I guess.
I disagree with him. think that we do not have time for people who question the seriousness of climate change to serve on decision-making bodies related to our natural resources, including our water. And we need decision makers who give equal consideration to those three areas I talked about: public health, the environment, and economic factors in a balanced, science-based, community-focused manner.
Right.
So that's why I'm running. And then I also feel that there is a need for better engagement with the public. You know, I've been going to these meetings for a long time now. It is not easy to understand and follow some of these discussions, even after I've been attending these for so long. And the decisions that are made by the water board. And I think there needs to be a greater effort made to help the members of our public who are interested and want to follow along.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't know if you've noticed, but our city council, the Santa Clarita City Council, their staff do a really great meeting recap on their social media a day or two after each meeting. That it's just like a 30-second quick slideshow video that they post on social media that just bullet points the decisions that were made for that meeting. And I think they can do the same thing for the water board meetings. I think that would be super helpful for the public to follow along and understand. And also remove all barriers to public participation for anyone who's interested in attending events. I was really happy to hear the general manager, Matt Stone, mention at the last meeting that he was interested in continuing remote access to the meetings for the public, even after the board resumes in-person meetings. So that's a great thing. I really appreciated that, and I really hope that happens. But there was an unfortunate decision that was made earlier in the year, pre-COVID, while they were planning a water summit, as that was billed as like a community dialogue, but they were charging the public $100 per person to attend this event, which was, to me, unreasonable.
I think your idea of more awareness of the public is a great idea. I think the idea of paying people paying $100 to sit around and listen about water.
But it's so sexy.
Yeah, going back to it being sexy, exactly. I'm sorry, I cut you off, Kathy. Go ahead.
Okay, I mean, my point was you're pricing people out of the conversation, and that's wrong.
Sure.
Yeah.
Valerie, what are they doing right? What are they doing wrong?
So what I think they're doing wrong is, and Kathy and Stacy and I have probably already touched on that, is not taking into consideration social values and public health. One of the reasons that I want to be on that board is so that I can offer some change and be a voice for some of the residents here in Santa Clarita. And I don't think they take into consideration how diverse the valley has become. And so, so I think that's one thing that they're doing wrong. And the other thing is, I have not attended as many meetings, nearly as many as Kathy has, but the few that I have attended, very difficult to understand. And residents or the public attend those meetings and they bring up issues or subjects and they're listened to, but then the board just moves on without any, we'll get back to you, or, we'll address that. There's no address to the issues that the public who attend the meeting bring up. So
what about you,
they're
Anna?
doing right?
No, go ahead. I'm sorry. What are they doing right?
I don't know. I have to think about that one.
Okay. Take a pass. Anna, for you, what are they doing? Let's just keep it short. What are you doing? What are they doing right? What are they doing wrong?
I'm ready to go. There are some people who are on that board who really care. They really do. They are passionate about what's happening in our community, and they are really trying to make sure that board stands for the community. I applaud the board members who are still for the community. There are some really good people trying to do good things. There just aren't, or they wouldn't be there. What they're doing wrong is, for me, it's just a lack of transparency. There's so much that seems to be hidden or secret, or that you have to really dig for if you want to get to, rather than just laying it all out for the layman to understand. Not everybody can understand very complex dialogue and written word. And they'll say, well, did you refer to our packet? Well, the packet is something like 8,000 pages long, so not everybody is going to refer to everything.
But water is sexy, so it's great reading material. So go
I
ahead.
think so.
Okay.
Stacy thinks water is sexy. Water is important. I think that this lack of transparency to answer a direct question is what's bothersome to me. Some of these board members just almost just like wave people off. You'll hear on the board meeting where a member of the public will come in with a real concern or issue or something they want addressed, and the board members or the board directors are just, whatever. Read the packet. I've actually heard them say, just read the packet. Didn't you read the packet? Just answer the question. It's not that hard. Those are my two things.
Okay. Beth, you? Right or wrong? What are right and wrong?
I think that they have some really good staff members and people that are really trying to do good work, and they work hard. I think that they've helped a lot of people out during COVID with water, with payments and stuff like that. Probably could do better, but they have some things that they're doing right. To me, there's two things that really irk me. One is their flippant, kind of condescending attitude, like everybody said here. They're serving us at the end of the day.
Right.
This is our water.
Yeah.
And we shouldn't have to require a huge knowledge to understand these meetings that are public meetings. And the second thing is, climate change. One of them, saying that climate change is not an issue, like relying on imported water is just not realistic. And so,
okay.
Yeah.
Stacy, your turn.
I actually appreciate the community the conservatory garden at the top of the hill. I like that they put that together. I like their programs that they have around community gardening, where they'll come out and do an assessment on your water efficiency, on your taps and things like that. I think that's good. They do a good job with that. They have an excellent staff. Nobody can complain about their staff. Their staff is excellent. What I think that they're doing wrong, I question some of their decisions. The one that bothers me the most is, putting out $22 million in infrastructure for Newhall Ranch, and yet borrowing $55 million for PFAS mitigation.
What is that? What is PFAS mitigation? I have no idea what that is.
So PFAS is a contaminant that was created years and years and years and years ago. You'll have to watch I'm doing a plug here for Dark Waters. If anybody wants to watch Dark Waters, it's a great, or The Devil That We Know. Those are great places to start to understand PFAS and water contamination. But it's in everything, Stephen. It's in your cookware. It's in your clothing. It's in your winter jackets. It's a non-stick coating. It was created by DuPont. It's in carpets. It's in basically in everything. It's so pervasive in water supplies nationwide. And it can't, it's very difficult to treat. And so that's the unveiling that they're doing this Sunday, I think it is, where they're doing the treatment plant at Hartfield. There's the PFAS treatment plant that they're putting in. Millions of dollars. It's going to be huge expenditures for PFAS cleanup. And they think that they're going to make polluters pay, but DuPont is in another lawsuit. I just saw today where another Golden State Water, I think, is just down the road from us in Ventura. They run agencies all up and down the state, but I think that the closest one that they have to us is in Ventura County. But they have another lawsuit, another $3 million lawsuit against DuPont. But, do we really need to borrow money, but give money to developers, give infrastructure money, $22 million in infrastructure? And they say, we're not giving it to them. We're going to get it back in connection fees. But what happens if the economy gets worse? They can't sell those houses. Now you've got stranded assets that you can't recoup because nobody's buying, so there's no connection fees. And you have these stranded assets, but you've pretty much given the infrastructure to them and then borrowed, and making ratepayers pay your debt, by the way, because remember, we're paying off the debt. And so the ratepayers are paying I don't like that. I don't like that. I don't like that they pay, the merger was supposed to be a cost reduction. It was supposed to be this huge economies of scale. We're going to eliminate duplicities here and there. And yet they still pay huge amounts in consultant fees. I don't like that. They still employ 2 law firms. I don't like that. And then they still have the bonded indebtedness, which has gone up, and it's just not under control yet. So, yeah, and our rates are going up. I don't like that.
Okay.
Do you like that? I don't
Actually,
like that.
it's part of my HOA, so I have no idea what my water bill is. So
yeah, but okay. So when you ran for water,
we
and
don't
one
talk
of the
about
issues that we ran on was rate increases.
No, when I ran for water, Stacy, I got halfway through there and went, and this is actually going to be my next question. I realized, wow, this is way over my head, because you guys talk about the amount of technical talk involved with what they're doing, and I just thought, no, this is not for me.
I helped you as much as I could.
No, it's not about helping me. It's more like I just didn't find it sexy, but but
I do.
Okay.
I still do.
Well, okay, obviously. But I do want. It does bring up a point that I realized after my failed attempt. Thank God, was the everybody involved right now, to my knowledge, is an engineer or has years of experience working in utility companies. There's civil engineers, chemical engineers. Different things like that. Not to say any of you can't do the job, but it certainly implies, when I look at a ballot and I see water engineer, chemical engineer to run the water board, without knowing anything about the candidates, I'm probably going to go, well, that person's probably better understanding. Kathy's raising her hand. I'm waiting for this. Yes, go for it, Kathy.
Yeah, no, I think that's a inaccurate assumption to make. I mean, if you look
Okay.
at the backgrounds of the current board members,
Yeah.
you'll see that, these board members came to the board with a wide variety of backgrounds. I mean, there are a handful of engineers on the board, which is good.
Mm-hmm.
But you also have a handful of local business owners. You have a tax consultant.
Okay.
You have a tax attorney. You have a nurse, right? And so each of these people ran for the water board for the first time at one point, got elected,
Mm-hmm.
and then they gained historical knowledge over the years. And
Okay.
I believe that each of us right here absolutely can do the same.
Okay.
I think we each come to the table with a unique set of qualities and qualifications. And so, I don't know, I consider mine to be that I care about the quality, the affordability, and the sustainability of water. I understand the connection between public health and our well-being, and the quality and availability of our water and our natural resources. I understand that true sustainability requires that balanced decision-making that I talked about already. And like I said, I've been attending the water board meetings for over a year and listening to the issues and understanding how the decisions are made and what decisions are being made. So, I think that I don't think it's a correct assumption to make just because you're not the incumbent.
I want to emphasize, I'm not saying nobody here is not qualified for it. I'm just saying that, when the last time I looked, at least, but I don't even pay attention to the water stuff. So, but Anna, you wanted to comment?
Yeah, I'll address that. I mean, as Kathy said, I think that it starts with a passion, a caring.
Mm-hmm.
That's where any of this has to start. As we've already mentioned, these board members have been on the board for a surplus of 17 years.
Time for a change, I guess.
So, but aside from that, someone might look at my background as opposed to someone else's. I've been in commercial insurance for the vast part of my career, which includes reading very complex contracts.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an understanding of protecting people's assets. That's all this is protecting people's assets.
Okay.
It's just doing it in a different way. And it's a much larger asset, protecting people's water and environment. But I bring to the table an ability to break down complex matters and then make it relatable to the person that I'm trying to protect. Mm-hmm. Do I have a background in water engineering? Nope. I have a background with people and contractors and insurance and contract review. So I do have a background that I think is wholly applicable to the particular board.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yes, Valerie, go ahead.
I didn't mean to cut you off. I was
okay.
going to say the same thing. I too don't have a background in water, not an engineer or contractor or anything like that. But I do have a background of department management where I manage all aspects of a department. I have supervised individuals. I have coordinated out-of-state facility planning and recruitment and hiring. And so all of these things these skills, I think, will be an asset when it comes to interacting with engineers and contractors and developers and other professionals. And so I think I have the intellect and the commitment and the dedication that'll help me build the necessary professional relationships to do the work, important work for our residents.
Okay.
And Kathye Colley didn't have any engineering background either.
Okay. Well, see, you're informing me of things I wasn't aware of, so I appreciate that. I'm curious though, how many people here know people on the board well right now? Raise your hand if you know some people on the board. Stacy, Kathye,
No. Yeah.
Valerie, you all do?
I know someone.
Yeah.
You know somebody? Okay. And do you see eye to eye with them as far as the issues go, or are you more at odds with them in general?
What's the issue? What issue are you talking
I don't know. I'm wondering. Well, you're running against BJ, and you and Kathye are running against BJ Atkins and Maria, right? Maria Goodside. Mm-hmm. Okay. Is BJ? You obviously had an issue with the fact that he doesn't believe in climate change. Is Maria? I mean, Maria is a friend of the show, but I mean, is she doing anything wrong or anything like that she needs to be replaced? Or I mean, what's a vote that she's done that you don't like? I guess this is what I'm pushing for.
Are you asking about Maria specifically?
Yeah, why not? Because you're running against her and BJ, and we already know BJ has a problem with climate change. Kathye, do you want to comment, or Stacy, either one of you?
I can comment. There's several things.
Okay.
She was on the backroom ad hoc committee that worked on the merger for SB 634. That every single club that I had attended, or even the Sierra Club for that matter, environmental agencies, environmental organizations opposed. So yeah, definitely an opposition to that. I didn't like that she was the seventh and necessary I vote to seat Dante Acosta on the board.
Not a friend of the show. Not a friend of the show. Dante.
Yeah. So yeah. I mean, there are clear reasons that we would be looking to.
And you're Division 3, is that right? Division 3, or wait, you're Division 3. Okay.
Yeah, Division 3.
Who's Division?
But I mean, that's not my chief opponent. I look at my chief opponent really as BJ as a climate science denier. And that
puzzles me about him,
Yeah.
I mean, because he does have those degrees that he has. Let's see, who's Division 2 again? Anna and
Valerie.
And Valerie. Who are you guys running against, and what are your issues with them? Are they doing anything specifically wrong? So, Anna, you want to go first?
So we're running against Ed Coley. His wife Kathye Coley decided not to re-enter the race. So there's another newcomer. I have sort of taken the ground of I have nothing bad or good to say about Ed Coley or our current. There's another guy entered the race, and I don't feel I even need to mention his name personally.
Okay. Valerie, you want to comment on? I mean, just to clarify, I'm not asking you guys to slam these people. I'm just, it's like the names themselves, people don't know who they are or the way they're voting. But I mean, I'm looking for why, what their votes are that necessarily are what, you know what I'm saying? So Valerie, I'm sorry, I cut you off there. Go ahead.
Okay. So like Anna, yes, we're running against Ed Coley, and the newcomer is Peter, and I have the hardest time saying his last name, Orcheskowski or something to that effect. He's the newcomer. And I don't have anything bad to say about either one of them. I just think it's time for a change. I think it's time for more progressive voice on the water board, and Anna and I will be that voice.
Beth, Christine?
Yeah.
The two quiet ones in the group here. I mean, just is there anything particular about the people you're running against, that their votes, or anything that bothers you, or that would stand out where you could say, look how they voted this way? That
Christine, do you want to talk, Christine?
Am I putting you guys on the spot?
No, I have no problem. I just don't know if she wants to go.
I don't have anything. I don't usually really talk about my opponents.
Okay.
I'd rather talk about why I would be a good choice.
Okay.
All
right.
Positive
I'm
campaign.
Certainly
not going to. I'm certainly not going to vote yes on things like the Chiquita dump, for example. I'm certainly not going to vote yes on things like that, and I'm not going to just say sure, why not, to every single development that comes down the pipe.
Okay. Beth, do you want to comment?
Well, I agree with Christine.
Okay.
Honestly, I'm sure that if I met my two opponents in an unrelated thing, we might get along great. I don't know.
Okay.
The only thing that concerns me is that one of them is running on historic Santa Clarita values, and I'm not sure what that means.
I believe that would be Republican.
And
yeah.
Well, I mean, Santa Clarita has some problematic historic values in general, and on many different levels.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but as I said, I'm sure they're lovely people.
I'm not
but
saying they're not.
I think that we need to change things up.
Okay.
We can't allow people to run unopposed anymore.
All right.
We need to bring this out. I mean, that's why people don't always know that this even exists, because it's not always on their ballot. If nobody runs against them,
all right,
they automatically get it.
I have two more questions for you guys, and then we're going to have a little bit quick fun, okay? First one is, and it's a little hard on, just not hard, I guess, but when I ran for Water Board, I was kind of recruited by Lynn Planbeck at the time. Have any of you been involved with Lynn as far as running? Has she recruited you guys? Has she talked to you? Did she approach any of you about running? Or was this all totally an independent thing? What are you laughing at, Stacy?
I'm happy to.
Go ahead, Anna.
I've met Lynn after I entered the race.
Okay.
So no, she did not recruit.
Okay.
She has definitely been very favorable, positive. She's willing to aid if necessary, but she's actually hasn't, at least for speaking for myself, she's not been overly involved. She doesn't have her fingers in the pie. She's, a nice woman who I think is supportive of change.
Okay. Anyone else? Stacy? Okay, Kathy, go ahead.
I just want to say my background's in public health. So I worked in the public health department for about 10 years, and then I pivoted to the field of sustainable natural resources years ago. And so I've been studying this issue for a long time, and that's when I became really interested in water in California in particular, because it's just so fascinatingly complex. And so this is something that I've been thinking about for a long time. And I just feel like this is the right time to jump in because of just a number of different factors. And so I am appreciative that Lynn is one of the only consistent environmental voices on the board. And so, I know she's excited to see others with that are environmentally.
Well, I mean,
minded.
The reason I bring her up, and just so you know, is some would call her a bit radical. Stacy's laughing.
I think that's hilarious because she's so quiet and so.
Well, but I mean, I'm just telling you I'm just saying from the perception of some of the more conservative people in this valley associating.
They think Joe Biden's radical. Come on. That's hilarious.
Nasty women.
That's
she asks questions. That's really what it is.
Okay.
You should see the way that they talk about her. How they talk to her during these meetings. It's so dismissive.
Yeah.
I wasn't recruited by her. I went on a tour with her. She showed me around a little bit, helped me a little bit with stuff. And I think was kind of hesitant of this pitch that I gave her of this Water 6 originally. But I was like, no, we can do it. And I think she's just been,
I will say this, the idea of the six of you kind of working together brings some notoriety. I mean, it's one of the reasons I decided to have all six of you at one time on, is because it does makes you stand out a little bit as a group, as the people running for it. I think it brings more attention to the actual the ballot itself. So, and the other question I have, yes, Kathye, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say that, we as a group, we are women raising the next generation. And we've looked around and we recognize that we have a vested interest in the long-term outlook of this community for our kids and the future generations, right? And so we've decided that, we would like decisions to be made about our water that is community focused and involves the balance that I mentioned. And I think it's a good thing when you have people who want decision-making to benefit the community step up and run for office. As another option in the ballot, and so when I hear criticism about it, I think of President Roosevelt's speech, the man in the arena, which basically says that, the credit goes not to those who stand on the sidelines and talk about people who are taking action. Instead, it should go to those who are rolling up their sleeves, getting in the arena, getting the dirty work done. So I say kudos to people who step up and run.
No, I agree with you. I mean, anybody that steps up to run, no matter who they are, or what the position is they're running for. It takes a lot of guts to put your name on a ballot, and people should always be recognized for at least making the effort. Yes, Anna, go ahead.
I was going to say, you brought up us as a slate or as a group.
Yeah.
I don't know if Stacy and Kathye already knew each other, but I believe none of the rest of us knew each other prior to a few months ago.
No, I'm not saying that you guys are like some kind of Brady Bunch group or something.
No, what I'm saying is we have met. We have been able to align, even though we are so different in so many different ways.
Yeah.
But we truly respect each other, and we are really working in tandem. And it's really a beautiful thing if you get 6 strong women who can work together and unite to do this.
I usually run.
You can do once we're on the floor together. What was that?
I 6 strong women. I run.
So, Stephen, I wanted to touch on your whole qualification thing because. Sure. I think that you brought up a very valid point and in a way that a lot of people think. And so I went to the website while the other people were talking, and I just wanted to read to you what the qualifications were for this position. And it doesn't say anything about you have to be an engineer. It just says that you have to be willing to let's see. Any candidate seeking election must be an elector that resides within the boundaries of the division and consistent with the uniform district election law. The candidates must be an elector residing within the boundaries of the division at the time of filing. So there's nothing.
I'm not saying that there's some kind of unique qualification for it.
Totally. And I'm not saying that you did, but people don't understand that you don't have to be an engineer to be on this board.
Okay.
Yeah,
but I think that because a lot of people think you do.
Yeah.
And you don't.
I think to address that, people see the word engineer and they get some sort of, whoa, like almost starstruck. They're an engineer.
Yeah.
This particular position, that's not necessarily a positive attribute. It's not negative, but it's not necessarily the bee's knees and the end all be all. It's just another qualification. It's no better or worse than anything that any of the 6 of us bring to the table.
Okay.
Right. And then, you were asking about being recruited by Lynn. When I ran the first time, I found Lynn through talking to people about getting that letter. I don't know if you remember getting that letter in the mail about not being regulated by the CPUC anymore.
I know what you're talking about, yeah.
So I posted that on Facebook at the time and said, hey, this is concerning to me. Does anybody else find this disturbing? Or is it just me? And I got a lot of comments. And then somebody said, oh, well, you need to talk to Lynn Plambeck. And that's actually how I met Lynn. Okay. I didn't meet Lynn through being recruited to run for the water agency. It was just kind of like a chance thing where I had a question and she knew the answer.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Now let's see how much you guys really know about water. So we get to the fun stuff. The first question is, and anybody can speak up. I just want to know, what is your favorite movie about water? Stacey, you're disqualified because you already said Dark Water. Yes, go Christine.
That's not a movie. That's a documentary. And that's
Does it count?
It's still a movie.
A documentary is a movie to me. I love the movie called Blue Water. Blue Gold. Sorry.
Blue Gold.
Blue Gold.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's it about?
It's about water, and it's the blue gold. Blue gold is water, and it talks about all the problems we have globally.
Yeah.
With water, and it raises a lot of scary issues, like almost all of the water in the world is controlled by private companies, a handful of private companies. Yeah. So basically, this is this is a resource that is a human right, and it's being owned by these private companies who then sell it back to you. It's almost like, okay, well, I own the air here, so if you want to breathe, pay up.
Yeah. I got you.
I really think that's a huge problem that I would like to be a part of fixing somehow. And if everything really starts at the local level, then this is where I start.
Okay. Anybody else want to chime in on their favorite water movie? Beth?
I was gonna say The Little Mermaid, but actually.
After Blue Gold, I don't know.
But actually, I would say The Big Blue. It's a movie by Luc Besson, and it's about free diving.
Okay.
And it was just mesmerizing. It's a gorgeous movie.
Okay. Next question is a Star Wars question. In Attack of the Clones, what is the name of the water planet? Come on, guys. Supposed to know these things.
An embarrassment.
Oh, my brother-in-law is going to be so mad at me.
I don't know either, so.
I have no idea.
Next question.
No.
Wait, how many people?
I know, it's
Camino.
You guys are both cheaters.
Good at Googling. All right, now here's a real question for you. Comic book question, guys. All right.
X-Men.
Riverdale.
Oh, man.
This is why I usually go running. No, okay. Who is sexier, Prince Namor or Aquaman?
Aquaman.
Duh. Oh my God.
Or Namor? Really?
Yeah. Duh.
Well, who would win in an arm wrestling match?
Who cares? Let's watch.
Incorrect. The answer is Namor. Namor would win. All right, ladies, I wish you all much luck with the election. I'm going to give you guys each 30 seconds to give me a pitch as to why someone should vote for you. And we'll start with Beth. 30 seconds.
I knew it was going to be me. I'm really not good at being put on the spot, but you should vote for me because I'm going to be your advocate and I'm going to listen to you.
Okay. And Kathye.
Okay, so please vote for me. There has never been someone with a background in public health or sustainable natural resources on this board, and I bring that very unique perspective and very important perspective. I also have the support of the local youth from the very beginning of my campaign. My first virtual event that I had was a student town hall, and that was a great opportunity for me to listen to the local youth, and they shared with me how important it is for them to see leaders that recognize the threat of climate change to their generation. And I didn't realize how smart I was being either, because a lot of them then decided they wanted to jump on and support the campaign. And so they became, and they still are, instrumental players in helping me with voter outreach. And I'm really, really proud to have their support. It really is one of the most meaningful things to me. So I hope to do them proud.
Okay, great. Stacy, 30 seconds.
30 seconds. I believe that everyone has a natural born right to drink cool water, to walk down the street and breathe clean air, and maybe even see a tree or two. And so I think that you should vote for me because this is an area where I have spent a lot of time, a lot of research, and I will definitely hold these board members accountable. We have to be responsible for the cost of the water, the quality of the water, and the availability of the water. And I'm running against client science denying people who are waiting for the next big rain to end our drought. So that is not going to work. So, hope is not a strategy, and hope is not going to solve our problems.
That was
so we need
45
people
seconds.
in there that are gonna. Okay, sorry, but
I was going to say these 30 seconds are really long. I thought I was like,
so
shoot.
please help me save our water and deliver safe, clean, affordable water to the families of SCV.
Christine.
I'm Christine Okamoto, and you should vote for me because I really care about the safety of your water, about the sustainability of your water, and I want to make sure that this valley has clean and safe water, not only for this generation, but for our children and grandchildren's generation. I really care about climate change, and I want to make a difference. I care about the community, and I want to bring water back to the people.
Valerie.
I'm Valerie Bradford, and I'm asking you to vote for me because I'm going to represent the cultural diversity of this valley. I am not going to be your voice, but I'm going to give you a voice, and I'm going to stand up so that your children and your grandchildren have clean, affordable water for decades to come.
Anna.
So I'm Anna Kumar. I hope that you'll vote for me because I bring a compassion to the board, to my job, to my work, to my clients. I bring the ability to do deep research, and I will bring to the board a new and refreshing perspective that maybe hasn't been there before.
Okay. Ladies, I wish you much luck in the election. Who's going to give me a joke?
I have a joke.
I have a joke.
I have a joke.
I have a joke.
We're all going to give you one.
All right. Pick a number between 1 and 10, please.
7.
Anna?
4.
Anna?
3.
The answer was 3 3/4. So Stacy went over. Anna, you are the closest, so you get the joke.
Okay, you guys ready for it?
Yes.
Yep.
Why are some fish at the bottom of the ocean? Ready? Because they dropped out of school.
Ba-dum-bum. Wonderful,
That's
wonderful.
funny.
All right. Hang on the line for me for a second, guys. We're going to close things out. But I do appreciate Beth Braunstein running for Division 1. Anna Kumar running for Division 2. Christine Okamoto for Division 1. Division 1. Kathye Armitage, Division 3. Valerie Bradford, Division 2. Stacy Fortner, Division 3. And you can vote for 2, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So there's
That's very important. People don't get that still.
2 votes.
2 votes.
Yeah.
Okay.
2 votes.
So for whatever, look up, find out who, on the ballot what district and who's running for in your district, and go out and vote November 3rd. Wish you guys luck. I know I keep saying that. Hang on the line, and we hope you guys enjoyed the talk.
You've been listening to the Talk of Santa Clarita. Listen to us on iTunes, SoundCloud.com, YouTube, and Stitcher. Barring a life event getting in the way, a new podcast is available every Tuesday. Questions, comments, and show ideas can be sent to thetalkofsantaclarita@gmail.com. You can also call or text us at 661-505-8672. That's 661-505-8672. Follow us on Twitter at The Talk of SC or on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at The Talk of Santa Clarita. You can also visit our website by going to www.thetalkofsantaclarita.com. This has been a production of Radio Free Santa Clarita Incorporated, a 501c3 nonprofit organization. To donate, go to radiofreesantaclarita.org/donate. Radio Free Santa Clarita, on the net and on the air, and we're very much aware.
Any questions?